Hey, what's going on? This is HB, of course, and this is HomeBase Poetry, Conversations with HB. I'm excited to be back in the house, and today is a very special day. I mean, we adjusted the day of the show for this particular guest. That's how important this cat is, at least to my life, my poetry world right now. He's my brother, so really excited to have him. I'll tell you about him in a minute, but before we get into that, just want to tell you, be excited. Just be excited. And that feels maybe like a random instruction, but too often we're too cool. We don't let our energy out. We don't let our passion out. At every home base, we do a thing called a bougie check to help those who let their passions just chill. And they don't know how to enjoy themselves. They don't know if they hear a good song. They don't know how to just get into it and have a good time. They don't know how to laugh, how to smile, right? They don't know how to just be excited like kids again. You know what I mean? Why are we conserving? Why are we holding that energy in? That energy is meant to burst out. So whatever you're excited about, do it. Be excited. Be fired up about something. You got something in your life that you can be excited about, even if it's just waking up, because some people didn't, right? You mad because your legs hurt. Be excited that you got legs, right? Because some people don't. Right? We work in these different communities, and so many people have learned to be joyful in whatever their given situation. And so often we don't know how to be grateful. We don't know how to be joyful. In every scenario we got, yeah, racism is still here. Yeah, sexism is crazy. Yeah, poverty is absolutely rampant. Yeah, we got some idiots in some political positions. Absolutely. Yeah, poverty is insane. Violence is not where we will want it to be. Yeah, but guess what? Flowers are still blooming. Guess what? Babies are still being born, and they deserve joy. They deserve happy guidance. They deserve to get the truth, but they also deserve to smile. Don't be so caught up in the battle, you forget what you're fighting for in the first place. What is the world that you're fighting for? If we don't know how to be happy at all, we just wasted our years, right? So be happy, be joyful, be excited. No matter what's going on in your life, you can be excited in it, and you can still work to make the world even better. You can still work to make your life better. That don't mean you settling. That means you're ambitious yet content. That is a very mature place to be. That's a whole lot of balance. But damn, quit with all the complaint. Quit being miserable, because misery is a choice. Misery is a choice. You could be dissatisfied with something. That's fair. But miserable, that means you let that dissatisfaction creep into your bone marrow. Don't let that happen. You deserve more. You deserve better than that. So I'm going to plug into a good brother that I get to have conversations like this with all the time. This gentleman was born at HomeBase Poetry, so that's very, very special for me. And now he's giving birth to poets, giving a platform for younger poets with Phonetic Spit, which is a youth-focused, poetry-based organization. I got a chance to spend some time with Phonetic Spit and those young people at a phenomenal youth festival they did here a couple weeks back, and it was amazing. You talking about talent? You talking about stretching out the comfort zones? Oh, my God. Absolutely phenomenal. So proud of this brother. But enough of me talking. Let's get right to him. I'm about to introduce you to HomeBase's co-host, the man himself. This is Tomas. Tomas, say hello.
Yo, what up?
Good morning. It's still
Good
early
morning.
for you. I know I got you out on a Saturday morning.
It's all good.
Ain't no telling what you did on a Friday night.
Yeah,
been up with
man.
a crying baby. That was
crazy, like Legos and
boy.
my boy, my son is he's starting to walk. He's starting to walk, man.
Yeah.
And that's fun and exciting. So yeah,
it's crazy how a Friday night back in the day we would be. We would be up all night because we was kicking it hard.
Yeah.
Now we up all night because we taking care of the baby, stepping on Legos and the whole nine.
Man.
And that's more fun.
It's
at least it's safer.
It's well, yeah. There's that.
It's safer, right?
It's a different kind of danger.
It's a different kind of danger for sure. Absolutely, without a doubt, man. So it's good to have you aboard, man. If you would just talk to the people a little bit and just tell us about yourself, about your background, how you got into poetry, how long you've been doing it, because it's clearly a passion for you. You've taken it, turned it into way more than a hobby. You know what I mean? So a lot of people do it for a hobby. It's way more than a hobby. It's a way of life for you. So I would love people to hear your journey because every poet's journey is a little different.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello. world out there. I know you're watching, even though all I see is a little tiny camera. But anyways, my name is Tomas. I'm a poet, teaching artist, playwright, performer, father. And I'm just excited. I know that's kind of a play on what H was talking about earlier, but I'm really excited and honored and blessed to be in the position that I am in, right? And so, so how I got started in poetry, when I was coming up, oh, my eye itches real quick. When I was coming up, in the 90s, I like most people that I know, really kind of dove into hip-hop culture and, poetry. At least what I was taught poetry was from an academic standpoint, just really wasn't something that I was interested in. So I always tell the story that, when I was young, I thought poetry was whack. But when I got older, I made the connection between hip hop and poetry. But anyways, even though I liked it, I was more of just like a fan of hip-hop culture. I really never saw myself being a writer or a performer or somebody who would have ever imagined being a professional poet and spoken word artist. So anyways, my journey with poetry, I think, begins in the community where I grew up at. I got an opportunity to go back into the Boys and Girls Club that I attended as a kid as a basketball coach. And I was a volunteer basketball coach and really just kind of loved being there, working with the young folks. And my goal is to be the voice that I never had growing up. That was my goal, right? But once again, had nothing to do with literary arts or poetry. I really was interested in financial literacy, right? Helping young folks understand the importance of money. And so, anyways, fast forward, the Boys and Girls Club, because I grew up there, had looked at me and they thought I was a success story. They're like, you've made it. You're doing something great in your life. I was about 27 at the time. And so they asked me to speak at a gala, a fundraising gala, right? They wanted me to just tell my story. And I had never really spoke in front of a crowd of people before.
Right.
And so I had no concept of like how difficult it was going to be. I was like, oh, tell my story? Got you. I could speak from my heart. That's easy. So they asked if I needed any help or anybody to help me write my speech. And I'm like, write a speech? I'm just going to speak from my heart.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, okay.
You sure about that?
You sure, right? And
how many in the crowd?
Oh, about 500. 500. Yeah, it was
now,
crazy.
where are you in your poetry career at this point?
I'm not.
You haven't even started yet.
Even started.
Oh,
hadn't even
snap.
started. Not even like this is how I got into poetry. So anyways, I show up at this gala. I get up and I look out into this sea of people, right? And my heart starts racing and pounding. I start forgetting, I forget my own story. Right? It's my story. I lived it, right?
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, right? So, and then immediately when I hear my voice being projected through the speakers, I become super self-conscious because I grew up in a predominantly African-American community, right? I'm not African-American.
Wouldn't have guessed.
I mean, most people know. But so the way in which I spoke, right? I was always told as a young person, like, why are you trying to talk black? You know what I mean? Why? And I didn't know. It was just like this is just what I grew up around, right?
Where you at?
I didn't even know because I never heard myself, right?
Right.
But when I spoke through that microphone, I heard myself, and I immediately was like, that's what they're talking about.
Oh, no. You start having revelations on stage?
Oh, man. But also this, we're at a fundraising gala, right? So I'm going to go ahead and say, 75, 80% of the folks in the audience were like affluent white people, right? And so I immediately just got super, super insecure, forgot all my lines, right? Didn't know what I was talking about. It was like one of the worst situations ever.
Wow.
I'm 27 years old.
Right.
I'm a grown person, right? Just melting down on a microphone in front of everybody. I do.
How much time did you have?
I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I think it was maybe like 5-10 minutes. It wasn't a long time, but I mustered up the a sarcastic comment at the end was that the Boys and Girls Club did a lot for me. Public speaking wasn't one of them. Right.
Nice.
Drop
That's
mic,
good.
Right. Drop the mic. kind of dipped, right? So at that point, I told myself, you know what? I got no business on the stage. I'm not interested in ever doing that again. My voice and my passion and my purpose is in this community, right? Where I felt really comfortable talking with the young people that I, kind of saw myself in. And then fast forward like 2 more years. I was 29 at this point, and one day I'm at work, and my manager comes in and says, you know what, we got this public speaker coming in, a motivational speaker to talk to the kids, right? And I was like, motivational speaker, wah, wah, wah.
Right.
And she's like, make sure you get them set up. I was like, cool. So I got them all set up. Kids are there, and I watched this dude, and like, he was so just poignant and on point and just charismatic. And he wasn't a poet, right? But he was just, the way he was telling these stories, and like, just, it was so captivating even for me. And it was just amazing to see him work kind of the crowd and embed this beautiful message into this, what seemed like a performance. And afterwards, we're in my office, and he's asking me my story, and I'm telling him my story. And he's like, yo, you got an amazing story. You should come and travel and speak with me, right? And I was like, nah, I tried that, man. I'm no good. And I'm not interested. He goes, well, what if I offered to work with you? And I was like, work with me? Like, what do you mean? He's like, to tell your story. And I was like, all right, cool. It seems kind of weird, but what do I got to lose? So we would meet at a coffee shop once a week. We would start writing, just kind of putting my story down on a piece of paper. And then at some point, I was going to need a place to tell my story, right? But I hadn't really thought about that yet. Crazy, ironic coincidence. You know, a friend of mine hit me up on a Sunday. It's like, hey, Tomas, got this event I want to go to. It's downtown at the Sheridan. You know, would you go with me? I don't want to go by myself. I was like, cool, what is it? It's like this poetry open mic. It's like, all right, I seen Love Jones. And I kind of had a crush on her.
Right.
So I was like,
who did?
No,
Love Jones?
Kind of had a crush on the girl who invited me.
Oh, on the girl. Oh,
yeah. So I was
talking about Neil Long.
No, but that too. That too. But so I went, and it was HomeBase, and I just sat in this crowd of 500 people, right, in this beautiful, beautiful hotel room. Like, definitely, it kind of like wasn't what I was expecting of an open mic, right? But also, what was really beautiful is just the energy, the vibe. There was this host. I think his name was Harold Branch, HB.
I heard that's the rumor.
That's the rumor, right? And so I was just there, didn't really make a connection, right? It was every first and third Sunday. And so the girl called me up the next time, was like, hey, you want to go again? I was like, yeah. And after going about 3 times, I said, you know what? This is where I want to practice. This is where I want to practice telling my story. Still no interest in being a poet, right? Just wanted to practice telling my story. So I would go home, I would take the work that I was working on, like my story, and I would watch the poets, and I'd go home, and then I'd start trying to like craft a spoken word poem. And I did that for about like 3 weeks. And then I just told my friend, I was like, hey, you know what? I was like, I'm going to go up. I'm going to bust a poem. And she's like, are you serious? Are you crazy? Why? You know, when did this happen?
Right.
And I was like, I'm going to do it. And I went up there. I memorized my poem because I knew that I wanted to close my eyes and perform. So I didn't want to read it.
Because you didn't want to be able to see the crowd.
I just didn't want to be able to see the crowd. And
I never heard this story. How have I never heard this whole story? So I have to interview you more. I got to interview my friends to find out.
Yeah.
I'm interview my kids too. What they lying about?
So I went up there. I busted this poem, and that was it. That was the beginning, you know. And it was just so amazing. And I just kept coming back. And that's like, you know, I don't want to get all sentimental, but like the fact that you had a consistent spot that was so beautiful, so inviting, and just was there for me, you know, at like twice a month to be able to go and work things out, right?
Yeah.
And so I started to make connections between like poetry as an art form, but also as this like platform to get so much like stuff off of my chest.
Absolutely.
Like, these are things that like I just needed to say and been needing to say, and just didn't have a platform, didn't have a vehicle to do so, right? And I found that through poetry. And
that's awesome, man.
That was it, man.
That is a great story.
Yeah.
I never knew that. So poetry provides so much more for depending on who you are.
Yes, sir.
Right? You hear about it from a counseling standpoint, of getting my soul right standpoint. But here's a man who used poetry to perfect public speaking. Whole purpose, right? Got in front of one crowd of 500, and had a situation, right? Healed that in front of another crowd of 500, which is a rarity at an open mic, right? That was just our regular open mic nights was 500 people. You know what I mean? And for you to find yourself there, and then what made you become faithful to the poetry? Because it's a lot of people that perform for the first time, you know, at HomeBase and things like that. But you just became so faithful when it was time to look for a co-host. You was just the obvious choice person to pull on, because it was more than poetry. It was a commitment there as well. How did that happen?
I mean, as you always say, when you give the kind of the origin story of HomeBase, right? The reason why it's called HomeBase is because it's a place where you feel safe.
Yeah.
And as adults, I feel like I've never really had that. You know, growing up in the environment that I did, like I appreciate growing up the way that I did, right? But at the time, there was nothing cool about it, right? I lived in fear. I saw things that no person should ever see. You know, like I became very reclusive, just because, like, you know, it's just like post-traumatic stress of, like, you know, craziness. Growing up in environments where violence is kind of like how you define yourself as a person and through, you know, masculinity. You know this, West Side Chicago, right? So to be an adult, to be around folks that understood the vernacular in which you learn growing up in those environments, but it was about peace. It was about love. It was about unity, right? Those were the things that really just made me want to continue to come back. And the fact that it was every first and third Sunday, I had opportunities. I used to like be hella sad when it was not third Sunday or first Sunday. You know, I'm like, wow, what am I going to do with my Sunday, man?
My
like,
Sunday,
HomeBase was the community. It was the spot, right?
Absolutely.
It was the social event. So it was just like, it's accredited to like the culture that you created. I feel like that kept me coming back, right?
Nice.
But then what happened for me at the time, I was still working at the Boys and Girls Club. And so I thought to myself, I was like, all right, well, this has been such a powerful journey for me. What would happen if I kind of try to introduce it to the young folks that I was working at?
Nice.
Right? And they knew me as athletic Tomas, basketball coach, and like financial literacy dude, like never like literary arts, right? So when I tried to introduce it to them, they're like,
they had you in that box.
They're like, come on, man, this they're like, young me, poetry is whack. I'm not interested in this, right?
Yeah, that's crazy because I train people all the time about the box that people got you in, and it's, you know, it's just because we categorize people in order to move quickly. We got to do categories. Yeah. And so it's not always a malicious thing, but they know you for what they know you for. And in that realm of what they know you for, you're good. They trust you. They believe in you. Yeah. They got your back. But if you try to stretch out of that, that's how it was for me. People knew me for poetry and youth work. They didn't know me for business. So when I tried to stretch out as a businessman, right, namely with my Legal Shield business, and really try to establish myself as a business entity, as a man, it was hard for people to live. Like, shut up. What? HB, go rhyme. Write a poem about it. I'll listen. Like, for real, it was the blow-offs was real. But it's amazing how you get to redefine yourself. Because I don't know you as the athletic Tomas. Yeah. I don't know you as the financial literate. It's amazing how we're able to redefine. You can redefine yourself at any given point. At any given moment, you could say, that's not what I want to be known for. I want to be known for this. And you could rearrange things, and people have to accept this new you. And those that don't, then you just move on. They get to hang out with your memories, but they don't get to hang out with your present and your future, right? Because I'm sure some people try to hold you to that. And they're probably not as involved in your life anymore because this your new Tomas. Yeah. Man, I'm gonna mess around and write a 45-minute training off of that, bro. Man, where's my notebook? I usually take notes. But go ahead. So once I started introducing it to the young folks, it just became a part of my life now in all areas, right? So it wasn't just this thing that I did on first and third Sundays that nobody knew about. It became a part of how I paid my bills as a youth development specialist. And so yeah, and like you said, you see it has transformational powers. I know that's cliche, right? Poetry saved my life. And for some folks, that's real. You know, cliche as it may be, it's real, right? Right. But it's only a cliche if it's an exaggeration.
Exactly, right? But like poetry, I can't say that poetry saved my life. Right. But like poetry definitely took my life it put my life in its full purpose.
Got it.
In its full purpose.
Yeah.
Because now, like, that's all I do.
Yeah.
You know, like
morphed it
into literally my career and who I am as an individual.
So dope. Most people don't find their passion until, you know,
until they retire.
Until they retire.
Exactly.
They found their passion right before the grave in the bed, like,
I didn't realize I was so great at paper mache.
Exactly. You know, I'm thinking of something arbitrary like that. Whatever. You don't know me, Tomas. If you hang around Tomas some enough, you'll be like, yeah, you and HB, yeah, that's your brother. That's y'all official. We just the same, man. And you know, somebody that was willing to learn. So, how did you go from a brand new poet to a host? A lot of people aren't willing to learn.
Yeah.
And they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, kind of thing. You really took on almost a Padawan kind of, you know, teach me kind of role. What kept your ego out of the way and kept you open to really learning the nuances and wanting to learn? Because I had somebody reach out to me, they wanted to host, about hosting and stuff like that. I was like, well, let's sit and talk, meet me at HomeBase. They didn't even show up. You know what I mean? So what made you passionate enough not just to engage but to want to really learn the nuances of running an event?
For me, it's really interesting. I take it back to those years when my adolescent years, where ego could get you murked.
Yeah.
You know, being cocky or arrogant, like, will get you followed after school, and you know what I mean.
Real talk.
Like, and so I just wasn't into that life. I'm not a tough guy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a man and I have a family, and I always say, like, I'll handle business if I have to, but like that just wasn't who I was. So I feel
You're
like
out here looking for it.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like my ego has always been something that it's there because everyone has it, but I've never let it get to a point of arrogance or like entitlement, right?
Gotcha.
The other thing is that I was always told growing up that I wasn't gonna be anything, like literally, like that's not a like, read between the lines.
Figurative. No, they were like
cats were like, yo, you're a loser.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be anything, sometimes by the closest people in my life. So
yeah.
So I never felt like I was too good for anything, and so to answer your question more directly, every opportunity that I got, I took it to heart, and I just I was so grateful just to be in the room, just to have an opportunity, just to be asked to do something. A lot of cats, and I'm not trying to say that artists shouldn't get paid, right?
Right.
But there's a level of like working on your craft to the point where you're worth financial compensation, right?
Absolutely.
Not everybody, like, just because you do something and artists should be paid doesn't mean that you're worth financial compensation, because like that's just not the business of it.
Because now you're entering the marketplace.
Yeah.
And you may have worked on it, but how much is that worth to the marketplace itself? How much value are you really bringing, not just the people who love you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I was never afraid of doing things for free and just working on my craft, and I always looked at it as like this was the university for me. Like, every opportunity that I got to speak, this was a training ground. And lastly, like, whether I admit it or not, I've always looked for that fatherly, big brother kind of mentor to like take me under their wing, right? And it's weird because when I entered into spoken word, I'm 30,
right?
So like I'm supposed to be that, right? But that doesn't mean that desire to want to be kind of like mentored ever went away, right? So even though I've never said it out loud, right, that what kept me going was like the fact that you were interested and like asked me to do something. I was like, yo, this is what I've been wanting my whole life. This is what I've been looking for my whole life. And so I just and I think that's a message, like, not to get on a soapbox or anything, but like like be humble, be humble, work for things. Like we live in a generation now where it's like I feel like everybody wants to be rewarded for things without putting the work in, without
absolutely.
putting the blood, sweat, and tears in. And so that time will come, and you may get taken advantage of a few times in that process.
You're going to get your heart, bro.
Yeah,
get your feelings hurt.
But like be humble, and just take advantage of it.
You know that mentor thing that you mentioned. You know what I mean? First of all, I can appreciate. I appreciate that on levels you don't even understand. Yeah. Many may know I didn't grow up with either of my parents. Right? Yeah. Met my dad when I was 14. You know what I mean? And great man, right? And we have a beautiful relationship, and he's great dude. But it still was a time before I met him. And mom died when I was 2, kind of deal. So I had to find mentorship everywhere. Some of that mentorship was in my family, but I was in a constant state of doing that. I think of Willie Muhammad. I think of Darnell Self. Warren Brown, Calvin Terrell, Jelaine Lazay, Imani Muhammad, Fatima Salim. Like, you know what I mean? Mother Lone Wolf, Nelly, Nana, my mom. You know what I mean? Mexican mom taught me how to make the tortillas. You know what I'm saying? Like. So that mentorship, and I could go on and on. Like literally, my list of mentors is so long. Angela, right? Yeah. Vanessa, you know what I mean? It's just so crazy long, and it stretches my whole career. And I'm 39, and I'm still hungry for mentorship. I'm still hungry for mentorship and people I could call and lean on, you know what I mean? My sister, and my siblings, like just so many, my cousins, big cousins back home and things like that. Like I said, blessed when some of them could be family members, but you never get too old for mentorship. Everybody should have somebody mentoring them and people they're mentoring, right? So who are your mentees and who are your mentors? If you're not sandwiched by these two group of people, you're probably making some bad decisions in your life. Because sometimes you make good decisions because somebody's watching you, and I don't get to show out at the club because they're like, oh, that's Poetry Man, he was at my school, so I don't get to cuss people out at the mall. Because I know there's probably some kids here that I worked with at some point, right? Or my mentor, I don't want that call, man. You ever disappointed a mentor? That is an uncomfortable conversation. You know what I mean?
I've ghosted people that I've disappointed because it was so uncomfortable.
Oh my God, it's crushing.
A
crushing mentor call you and just, what are you doing, HB? Like, oh damn, oh God. Right? But I've had those conversations too, right? With those that are very close to me, you know what I mean? The many, that's my little brother I am, to nephew Jonathan, just so many that I'm caring for, right? So have some mentees and have some mentors. We're running out of time. We got to hear a poem.
Cool.
I think, your story is so dope. We're going to have to get back on here, chop it up some more. We need an hour for this man's story. And to really chop it back and forth, because I want to talk about the business of poetry. That's a conversation that you never hear. What's the business of poetry, right? So I want to talk about that at some point. Really saving these babies and using poetry to save lives with the youngsters as a form of expression. You know what I mean? So we got a lot to talk about. In addition to this dope hat I got, I'm just saying. I don't know if y'all heard me the first time. My hat is fly. Okay, so bruh, why don't you go ahead and share a piece? Let's hear one of Tomas originals.
All right, cool. So since I'm going to be back and talking about the business of things and how I got introduced into Phonetic Spit, I'm going to save the poem that I was going to do for that conversation. I think this poem is fitting for the conversation that we had. So, hello. My name is Tomas. My favorite color is green. Eggs give me really bad gas. I'm an Aquarius, which means I don't really know what it means, but it's always like the second or third question that I get asked when I meet new people, so now you know. I love red velvet cupcakes. I think they're amazing. My dance moves are amazing. Sometimes, but sometimes I'm just not in the mood to dance. Sometimes I'd rather play video games than cuddle. I go to the movies by myself because the movies is like hella expensive, and right now I can't afford to fund my dreams and entertain this materialistic society. I'm just keeping it real. I typically only cry at church and funerals, so I try to avoid both of them. But seriously, without joking aside, I wish society didn't tell men that men don't cry, because there's many days where I feel like I just need to. I've never hit a woman, and I never will, but I have broken multiple women's hearts whose names I struggle to remember, and one of my goals as a father is to teach my son that's kind of like the same thing. My eyes are green if you look at them closely and in the right light. So most of the time they're brown, because most of the time you'll never get close enough or in the right lights. I am the perfect blend of my green-eyed mother and my brown-eyed father. My brown-eyed father left a hole in my mother's heart when the fear of fatherhood didn't mix too well with his whiskey. So my mother filled that void with heroin ripping through her veins. I was born into this world high as a bird, destined to be an outcast, widening the hole in my mother's heart. My mother is a survivor. She is my hero. Her smile is like an autumn sunrise, one of the reasons why I truly believe in God. We even share the same birthday, but they say I'm just a lighter skinned version of my father. I often wonder if he was a poet too, if he had figured out how to dance his insecurities behind fancy words and metaphors just like me. They say I'm all the good that my father was too afraid to be. Well, I wonder if fear is hereditary, and if he'd be proud of all the skeletons that I keep trapped between my bed sheets, all those childhood dreams I drowned in cheap 40-ounce bottles, all these adulthood dreams I now drown in top shelf Moscato. You see, upgrading my taste doesn't really change the facts. Hello, my name is Tomas, and I'm a lover of love, but I'm really scared of the commitment that it must be rooted in. That's why I often run from things that I should face and dive face first in the things that I should run from. If I were a website, I'd be in the construction, a work in progress with no 20-day money-back guarantee. I've been told that I have pretty feet, but most days I only walk barefoot when I feel safe, so more than likely you're just going to have to take my word for it. But like I said, my dance moves are amazing. Sometimes, but sometimes, just not in the mood to dance.
My man, Tomas, rocking it. Yo, so fly, man. Look, Tomas, Phonetic Spit, HomeBase Poetry. Before we go, we're not going to end with that. How did Phonetic Spit come about?
Phonetic
at least touch on
became about when once again I met somebody, my co-founder, who's Merlin Hepworth, at HomeBase Poetry. Saw him rock a piece, thought he was amazing, dope, looking for that mentorship, you know, and we never really connected. I tried to reach out to him. He was super busy finishing up his undergrad, but what was interesting is that we had a student that I was working with at a school in South Phoenix, and that he was working with as a part of the Brave New Voices team, and that
right.
student was like, yo, you remind me of Merlin, and she would tell Merlin, yo, you remind me of Tomas. And so it was that student that brought us together, and you know, he was doing it. He had, you know, been working in the communities and like working with the young folks, and once again I had a background in financial literacy and kind of like a little bit business savvy, so I approached him and was like, hey man, let's collab. You know, you teach me how to do what you do as a teaching artist, and I'll handle the business side of Phonetic Spit. I'll make us an organization. I'll get us a logo, a bank account, like,
dope.
you know, kind of business plan.
Yeah. And
so that was the marriage, and so that's how Phonetic Spit started. That was 5 years ago. And yeah, so now we're a legit, you know, nonprofit 501c3, and it's just an amazing blessing.
About how many kids do you think you've served?
In 5 years?
Yeah. Thousands, huh?
I mean, we do annual reports, and so like between like direct services, like actually like classroom visits and things like that, and then, you know, school-wide assemblies, probably close to about 10,000 students.
About 10,000 service,
10,000 students.
Over 10,000 students in the last 5 years, because think about where all this was birthed from. Because he freaked out in front of 500 people. Like, really think about this. If he wouldn't have, that thing probably felt like a failure, probably felt like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. What could be? And that birthed him being able to connect with over 10,000 and counting young people, change lives because of what some would consider a failure. Be careful what you're upset about, because that very thing that you think you messed up is what you needed to drive you to become your better self, to become your next self. This man's life has transformed because he got in front of 500 people and choked.
That's real talk.
You know what I mean? Like, yo, so what has happened to you that you so busy being depressed about you ain't let push you to the next step? What has occurred? What mistakes have you made? Where have you fallen short that you so busy sulking about that you haven't allowed that to take you to the next level of your life? That could be your entry. Maybe that's your payment for entry. Is that amount of pain? No change comes without pain. None. You don't believe me? Go to the gym. Try to change them muscles. If it don't hurt, it ain't working. That's pretty much how that goes. So same thing with life, family. Appreciate you all. Where can people find you? People want to stay in touch with you. People think you're amazing. How do they do that?
I'm on all the social media webs. On Instagram, I'm Bird City Poet. Bird City repping for my native Phoenix, born and raised. And then Bird City.
Bird City.
Bird City, yeah. So
Bird
City Poet on Instagram and Twitter. And then obviously I'm the person behind the scenes at Phonetic Spit. So you can follow Phonetic Spit on Instagram, Phonetic Spit, and and then phoneticspit.org is our website if you're interested in learning more about the organization.
There you go. And of course,
I think I'm on the HomeBase Poetry website too.
That's right. And that's getting launched this week. Super hype about that. So family, we making magic happen, making amazing things happen. I also want to give a shout out to Estrella Mountain Community College because last week they allowed me, they had their 25th anniversary gala and fundraiser, and they asked me to be their keynote speaker and had a wonderful time. I mean, it was plush. You talking about bougie? Oh, the bougie was there. It was real. And it was awesome. I got a chance to share my story and my journey in the education system and for all its ups and downs and lefts and rights and trials and tribulations, how I ended up where I'm at, ended up with two beautiful children that are blowing the educational system out of the water. And at the end of that speech, though, it went well, and we had some tears and some laughs in the crowd, so I was very proud of that. But at the end of the speech, they actually awarded me the inaugural Distinguished Alumni Award for Estrella Mountain Community College, man. So much love to you all. Dr. Lara, Jonathan, thank you for making that a reality. Obviously, Adolfo Gomez, old school mentor, Ann Williams from Genesis West program. I just want to say thank you. Love my West Valley, love Estrella, Avondale, that whole area. Y'all took me from the West Side Chicago to West Valley Phoenix, so appreciate y'all for that. So had to give that love and shout out. You can follow HomeBase Poetry at all, like you said, social media, HomeBase Poetry on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Of course, I'm Harold Branch. You can hit me up on those avenues as well. And of course, you can see these videos on our YouTube page, HomeBase Official. So put in HomeBase Official, you'll find our YouTube page, and you'll find these Conversations with HB episodes. Thanks a lot for joining us. Love you all. Stay strong. Love yourself. Tomas, my brother, thank you for spending time with me, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you all.
Absolutely. Peace.